It is 3 in the morning again, and your eyes snap open for absolutely no reason that you can explain. You were not dreaming, and no loud sound disturbed you, yet somehow you feel completely alert and wide awake now. Falling asleep was never really your problem, because staying asleep through the whole night is the real exhausting battle here. Within minutes, your quiet mind starts racing as tomorrow worries and random fears come flooding into your tired, aching head. During daylight, you feel calm and steady, yet the moment darkness wraps around you, anxiety quietly creeps back inside again. This strange pattern is not random at all, because there is a real neurological reason this keeps happening every night. Your stress hormone cortisol slowly climbs during these early hours, preparing your tired body to wake before sunrise even arrives. When that cortisol rises too early and too sharply, your brain quietly flips an invisible switch toward being fully awake. Scientists call these sudden moments micro-arousals, which are tiny metabolic alarms firing quietly inside your supposedly sleeping, resting brain. Your body suddenly believes it needs energy, so it jolts you into consciousness, without any real outside reason whatsoever happening. Nothing inside your dark room actually woke you, because your own internal chemistry is the real thing pulling you out. Once you are awake, that rising cortisol makes drifting back into sleep feel almost completely impossible to actually achieve again. So you lie there, staring at the ceiling, feeling frustrated, drained, and strangely wired all at the very same time. But imagine if one simple natural molecule could quietly calm that entire midnight storm raging inside your restless, tired brain. Growing scientific evidence is now pointing strongly toward a humble little amino acid that simply goes by the name glycine. I want you to truly understand how it actually works and exactly how much you should be taking each night. Because once you understand the real reason behind why it works, you can reverse engineer it perfectly for yourself, easily. Glycine looks almost too simple to ever matter, since it is just one small, ordinary amino acid building block, really. Yet researchers published a study clearly showing glycine supplementation improved nearly every important marker of human sleep quality they measured. They took people who slept poorly and gave them 3 full grams of glycine right before their normal nightly bedtime. The results showed clear improvements across many personal feelings of how deeply and how peacefully these people actually slept afterward. Now those were subjective measures, meaning researchers simply asked people how rested and refreshed they personally felt the morning after. That still matters enormously, because other wild studies prove your own perception of sleep deeply shapes your entire next day. People who slept well but truly believed they slept badly performed exactly like people who genuinely slept poorly all night. So much of this nightly struggle genuinely happens inside our own anxious, overthinking, deeply convinced and easily fooled human minds. Glycine also helped these struggling people reach their precious REM sleep stage far faster than they normally would have managed. This matters because REM is where real restoration and memory and deep emotional processing quietly happen every single passing night. Even sleeping 8 full hours means very little if it takes you 4 long hours to finally reach restorative REM. During the following day, these same people showed sharper memory and noticeably better mental focus while staying calmly, fully awake. That improved memory proves their brains consolidated information properly, which is exactly the deep, restorative purpose REM sleep truly serves. So glycine appears especially powerful for protecting and deepening that fragile, precious, restorative REM stage of your nightly human sleep. But this naturally makes us wonder why such a tiny amino acid could possibly create such a genuinely powerful effect. The main secret lies in something surprisingly simple, which is its direct influence on your own core internal body temperature. At first, that sounds strange, but your body must cool down slightly before it can truly sink into deep sleep. Glycine appears to redirect warm blood flow outwards toward your hands and feet, cooling your warm inner core down nicely. Researchers saw this clearly in rodents whose tiny paws warmed up while their central body temperature dropped for better sleep. But cooling alone did not fully explain everything, so something far deeper and neurological had to be happening quietly inside. So scientists looked much closer at those same rodents who showed better blood flow and far deeper, richer quality sleep. These animals displayed more sleep spindles and stronger REM quality, and surprisingly, they even required less total sleep overall nightly. Then researchers blocked a brain receptor called NMDA and also disabled the tiny clock region that controls daily body rhythms. Obviously, you could never ethically do something this extreme to a living, conscious, thinking human being in any real study. But once they did this, the glycine completely lost both its powerful sleep benefits and its helpful blood flow effect. In plain human language, this proves glycine is acting directly on specific calming regions buried deep inside your living brain. It is not merely shuffling blood around your tired body, since it clearly targets the very circuits that create calm. So this humble little amino acid is quietly working upon the very same anxious regions that keep you awake nightly. Now let us talk about something incredibly practical, which is reducing how often you wake up at night needing urination. For so many people, that single frustrating bathroom trip is the exact thing destroying their otherwise peaceful and continuous sleep. You drift off beautifully. Then around 2 in the morning, your full bladder suddenly demands that you immediately get up. Then you struggle endlessly to fall back asleep, while your racing, overthinking mind simply refuses to switch itself off again. So researchers ran a careful human study to test whether glycine could genuinely reduce these frustrating, repeated nighttime bathroom trips. They first noticed glycine affected the spinal cord and bladder function inside rodents during their earlier, curious, animal-based research. So they gave real humans either a harmless placebo or 3 grams of glycine every single night for 4 weeks. The people taking the glycine had significantly fewer episodes of waking up needing to urinate during the deep, dark night. It reduced their total nighttime urination and their sudden urgency and the overall volume their bladder demanded be released nightly. But the most fascinating finding was about the people who still occasionally woke up needing to use the bathroom anyway. For them, the glycine actually extended the total length of time before that urgent bathroom signal finally arrived each night. Imagine going to bed at 9 and not needing the bathroom until 4 in the calm, quiet, early morning hours. That single shift would mean 7 solid, unbroken hours instead of waking up exhausted at 2 and completely wide awake. Waking at 2, then stirring restlessly for an entire hour ruins the whole remaining portion of your precious nightly sleep. Sleeping straight through until 4 or 5 feels infinitely better than those broken, fragmented, anxious, miserable, shallow, restless, sleepless nights. Researchers discovered that glycine actually suppresses something called the micturition reflex, which controls that urgent nighttime bathroom signal, almost entirely. So glycine carries a genuine, measurable neurological effect rather than being some vague, gentle, relaxing bedtime supplement and nothing more. We already saw its calming, inhibitory power inside the brain, but now it clearly reaches your bladder, controlling nervous system. Studies even show that glycine can ease bladder pain by changing how your nervous system actually perceives that internal sensation. This does not mean you suddenly become numb and embarrassingly wet the bed during your deep, peaceful, and restful sleep. It simply means the sharp, urgent signals that normally jolt you violently awake become softer and gentler and far quieter. You might sleep peacefully until your bladder is genuinely completely full, rather than waking up at every faint, tiny twinge. Now, glycine has been making countless headlines lately. Yet most people are honestly still using the completely wrong daily dosage. Across the sleep research and the Nocturia research, the truly magic, effective number keeps landing right around 3 full grams. Most people take far too little glycine and then wrongly conclude that it simply did absolutely nothing helpful for them. 3 grams taken consistently every night is truly the proven sweet spot, where almost all of this real research lives. Many people also stack their glycine with other gentle calming compounds to deepen and strengthen the overall powerful nightly effect. Magnesium, especially the special form that crosses your blood-brain barrier, can directly calm the actual firing neurons inside you. It works beautifully alongside glycine, creating a deeper, synergistic wave of genuine spreading calm throughout your entire tired nervous system. Theanine is another wonderful addition because it relaxes the busy mind while gently encouraging that same helpful internal cooling effect. Saffron, taken in a proper clinical dose, has also shown real promise for helping anxious, restless people stay asleep longer. Together, these natural compounds create a powerful, layered approach toward genuinely calmer and deeper and far more restorative human sleep. Now, here is where things get genuinely surprising, because we suddenly need to talk seriously about creatine for one moment. Creatine matters here because glycine is literally one of the core building blocks your own body uses for making creatine. There is real sleep research showing creatine can actually reduce the total amount of sleep your tired brain truly requires. At first glance, that research almost looks alarming because it shows shifting phosphate creatine and clearly dropping brain energy ATP. But what it really reveals is that your brain is finally using its available creatine properly during your deep sleep. Remember those frustrating microarousals that yank you awake? Often come from your brain becoming dangerously depleted of energy ATP. When your cellular energy currency drops, your body wakes you up so your metabolism can quickly rebuild that missing energy. So those tiny midnight awakenings are genuinely real biological events, rather than something you are simply imagining or inventing nightly. Creatine quietly reduces your brain's sense of needing constant sleep, while removing those energy-driven, sudden, frustrating nighttime awakenings completely. You still get genuine, deep rest, but without those exhausting microarousals repeatedly dragging you back into frustrating waking consciousness. So where exactly does glycine fit into this fascinating creatine and sleep and brain energy connection happening quietly inside you? Glycine essentially prevents the creatine depletion that triggers the ATP crash that ultimately forces you painfully and suddenly awake again. You might wonder why not simply take creatine alone, and honestly, you genuinely should seriously consider taking it too anyway. But your body burns through creatine surprisingly quickly, so glycine keeps continuously fueling fresh, new creatine production all night long. Even if your creatine stores happen to run low, your body still holds the raw materials to manufacture more easily. This prevents those tiny energy valleys that would otherwise quietly wake you during the deepest, most restorative part of night. Now let us explore something deeply human, which scientists actually call the emotional blunting side of this remarkable little amino. We have all faced a stressful, painful moment right before bed that completely destroyed any chance of peaceful, restful sleep. Maybe it was a painful argument or a stressful email that sent your racing, anxious mind spiraling downward for hours. Research confirms these negative emotions genuinely damage both your ability to fall asleep and your actual measured deep sleep quality. A recent study strongly proved that negative emotions measurably harm sleep quality, far beyond simply feeling subjectively upset or sad. But here is the empowering part, because your ability to detach from those emotions can actually protect your nightly sleep. It is not only the raw emotion itself, but your real skill at releasing it that truly determines your rest. Glycine appears able to gently blunt that overwhelming emotional response right when stressful negative feelings come rushing fast toward you. You will not feel completely detached from your own life, but the sharp, painful edge becomes noticeably and helpfully softer. One fascinating study fed fish glycine and observed a genuine, measurable decrease in their circulating stress hormone called cortisol afterward. Many humans report this exact same calming effect, saying their cortisol feels lower and their busy mind feels noticeably quieter. Researchers are now eagerly exploring whether glycine creates a real daytime effect of blunting our human stress and cortisol response. Imagine getting into a heated argument or receiving terrible news, yet somehow staying genuinely calm and clear-headed throughout it. Imagine detaching just enough that you clearly recognize the problem without triggering that overwhelming primal fight-or-flight survival response. Most sleep destruction from negative emotion actually comes from that powerful physiological fight-or-flight adrenaline reaction firing inside you. Once adrenaline floods your whole system, it becomes incredibly difficult to calm down enough to finally drift back into sleep. It all returns to how glycine gently influences that important NMDA receptor buried deep within your stressed and overworked brain. Powerful compounds affect this same receptor, flooding the brain and helping certain people emotionally detach from severe and painful trauma. Glycine touches this very same receptor, but in a far gentler and safer and smaller, completely natural, everyday, helpful way. So you gain a legal, conscious, healthier way to step back from negative emotions without that overwhelming physiological adrenaline storm. There is almost a quiet dissolving of the ego that lets stressful moments lose their tight, overwhelming grip over you. So how should you actually use glycine to finally reclaim those deep, peaceful, unbroken nights you have been desperately craving? First, always take at least 3 full grams, since that is exactly where all the strong, reliable research clearly points. Second, take it roughly 1 full hour before bed, rather than carelessly swallowing it down in your final waking minutes. It needs a little time to absorb and rise, creating that gentle, cooling wave that gracefully and naturally invites sleep. Taken earlier, it improves your sleep onset latency, meaning you simply drift off faster and far more easily every night. So tonight, when that familiar 3 a.m. panic quietly threatens, remember, your racing brain is simply running old, outdated chemistry. You now finally hold the real knowledge and the simple, natural tools to finally quiet that storm and sleep deeply. Give your exhausted, aching body the calm it has been quietly begging for, and finally wake up genuinely rested tomorrow.